Awesome, man. February 27th, man, we're talking some ball. That's good. That's good stuff. Our guys have been really getting after it in the weight room. I think it's funny. I was talking to Coach Nico yesterday about, how we compare to other schools right now into this stage, how hard we're working, and I think we get a pretty good gauge on that because we brought 15 transfers in this year, 27 last year, and so you get a good gauge when they get here compared to wherever they just came from, and pretty consistently the guys that come in say this is the hardest they've ever had to work in the winter. I think that's intentional on our part, and what you want to see out of that is how do they react, and it's been great. Our guys have been getting after it. They don't even blink. They're just like, whatever you got for me, let's do it. So I would say winter's going great for our guys right now. That's awesome. We're actually doing some things on the field with them a little bit, as much as you can rule-wise right now, which has been awesome. And it's exciting because we're leading up to spring practice for us that is starting here in a couple weeks, and we're excited about getting that started. What we mentioned this earlier, but 15 transfers and 12 high school guys, so we get to see what they can do in spring practice, and that'll all be good. Certainly to add to the team that we got coming back. We feel like the guys we do have coming back are some outstanding players, and they're continuing to progress and get better as well. And now it's up to these new guys. Let's see what they can do and how much depth can they provide for us, and/or can they start? And I think that's what we'll be able to see. We also got some things happening with the NFL Combine right now. We got 3 players that are there, and I feel great about all 3 of those guys with an opportunity to get drafted. Obviously they have to test well. We know this week's big for them. A lot of interviews set up, and then obviously on the field stuff that they're going to be doing. But, man, those guys, they've been training. Actually seen John and Luke several times. They've been working with our guys in the weight room and stuff, continue to do some O-line drills. So it's been fun to see them and continue to progress. And then, we did announce, I think earlier today, about April 12th, we'll do a spring showcase. There's been a lot of things in the media talking about these spring games. I do think, some of these coaches are a little worried about what they put out in the spring game because, if you think about a team that has 30 new players in spring and now you put that out on a spring contest and kind of see what they can do, a couple of things. Number one, other teams are scouting that. Number two, some players may try to get taken from them. It's kind of what they're seeing. So if we put these guys out, they look too good. Well, then teams are going to notice, and we know what happens with that. So that is interesting to me to see what's happening out there with these cancellation of spring games. But we will have a spring. We're calling it a showcase. We'll practice. We'll scrimmage some in there, but it'll also be some special teams, some 7-on-7. So it'll look more like a practice, but I also think obviously we'll do some 11-on-11 work, and so it'll be a good chance for fans to be able to come out and see some of the new guys, and then also we're going to do some autographs and that type of thing, some fan engagement. I still think this is a good time of the year for our fans to get to know some of our new players because, again, we do have a lot of turnover in college football now and basketball for that matter each and every year. So it's a good opportunity to get to learn the new guys, which I think is certainly a positive. And I think today that's kind of what we're doing with our new coaches to get a chance to meet our new defensive coaches and kind of get a feel for them as well. But, open up with any questions.
The trend on spring games kind of goes against fans right now are NIL and tickets and donations. They're doing more than ever and seeing access get less than ever. Do you feel some kind of responsibility to keep something like this, even if it's not a full-blown spring game, but to keep something like this for the fans to have that experience, get to know the team, get to come out in the spring and see a practice?
Absolutely. I do. Like, you want the fans to be able to know these guys, as I mentioned earlier, for a chance for them to come out and, to watch them move around, to see what they can do, can't do, those type things, but also get to interact. That's why we're doing some autograph stuff, so they get a chance to say hello to them. At least there's an opportunity there. And I think we want to provide that opportunity for our fans to be able to come out and get to know them. Because if you think about teams in the past where, you sign a high school player, he's here for 4 to 5 years, you get to really know these guys over a period of time. And the way it is now, it's difficult. There's so much turnover. There's so many new players that come in. how do you even have a chance and opportunity to get to know them? And I think, so you're right. I mean, we're limiting a lot of that, I think, in the way things are looking right now. But we still want to have that opportunity for it this spring. And I think, April 12th will be a good day. We also have a baseball. We have a game. We have the night at the Reds that night. So hopefully the weather cooperates that day. We got a lot of stuff going on that day. So hopefully it's a beautiful day on April 12th.
The truth of the matter is that the carnival starts again like April 16th.
True.
But it seems like it's a necessity because most teams are going to lose some and most teams are going to gain some.
Yeah, I do think, as we've seen the last couple of years, it's a less amount of players that have any turnover, but also, it will be some turnover. I mean, there's going to be, right? I mean, and I think what ends up happening is teams go through the spring practice, and maybe you'll look at it and say, all right, where's our weakest spot at? Maybe we need to try to go get some help. And I think that's what teams will do. I don't think there's many guys that'll get in the portal in the spring. Just the numbers, most of them got in the spring and the wintertime. So, but there will be some more turnover, but hopefully not as much. And I think, this is something that we're looking at in college football. Are we going to have one portal window as we move forward? Or we're going to sit here with two, and that's kind of a debate right now through college football, along with many other things as far as the calendar goes. We're looking at this House case, and there's a lot of things that are happening right now. And really and truly, I think as coaches, we're just trying to keep up with the current rules and kind of see what's happening right now because there's a lot of change.
Year one, you come in, you don't know anybody. Year two, half the roster is new, and most of them for the spring. Mm-hmm. Can you tell much of a difference only having, it sounds crazy, but only having 27 new guys? Like, can you tell that much of a difference?
You really can. I think, culturally, I think last year we really took a step in a great direction. Getting the right guys on the team, and they were so fun to be around, and they competed their butts off. And I think that has continued this winter. And with our core guys coming back, and particularly on defense, we've got a lot of those guys that are back. A lot of guys have a lot of production coming back, and then what you added to come in here, these guys, we got the right guys to come in. Because you don't really know until they get here, but man, they have great attitudes. They're fun to train. They're fun to be around, and they've really just picked up right with our team, our core team, with the culture. And I think, I think we're certainly, we're light years ahead of where we were when we first got here, and even last year as well, But I do think it's the new norm to have 30 new players in the wintertime, I think. But yeah, they fit right in as a lot of them as if they've been here for a year or 2 years. Even though they've only been here for a couple of months. But I think that's a credit to our coaches and our scouting staff to be able to go out and get the right ones.
You mentioned the combine earlier. What kind of advice would you give to the three guys that you have there, or what have you said to players in the past about kind of approaching this? Yeah,
I think these guys, man, they have the right stuff about them. And I think for them to go out and they'll do well in the interview portion of it. When they get around the coaches, they'll do well on the board if they put a pen in their hand, because obviously that's what you find out. So we try to teach our guys in our program that you're going to have to get on the board. They put a pen in your hand, you're going to find out what you actually know. So, and I don't care what position it is. And so we feel good about that with our guys, and really just be who they are. The thing about it, they don't have to change anything because these guys are solid people. They're good football players. They got great character. So all those things will show if they just go be themselves. I think the other thing is when you get to that point right there, because they feel like, oh man, it's all riding on this. Well, this is just another step in that direction. So don't tighten up. I think just get in there and be excited about being there, but then just cut loose and go perform. And I think that's probably the best advice they can get.
I know you've done a little bit of on-field work, but the 15 practices in spring, particularly with the transfers, not necessarily the freshmen, how much do you use of those 15 practices, particularly spots like the secondary and maybe the receivers, as different slots and different spots? Yeah. And like how many of those practices will you use to evaluate that, or you just go the whole spring ball, come back at higher ground, and then figure out where you're going to play them?
No, that's a good point. Particularly those two positions, right? We brought in several DBs and several wide receivers. So during spring, and even right now, we're looking at them in a few different positions and trying to figure out maybe what's the best one. And we'll put them in those positions, and then as we go through practice in the spring, let's say, the first 5 or 6 practices. If they're looking good, kind of leave them. If we say, man, they may be better at this spot, then we'll make the move. So probably give them half and half if we need to, or stay where they are. Because we want to put the best 11 on the field. So find out where they fit, and I think, Cyrus is a good example because Cyrus he can play any of the receiver positions, but where does he fit the best? Is it the slot? Is it the Z? Is it the X? And figure out, what's the best lineup to put in the field, put on the field at the one time. So that'll be the time to do that. We're doing a little bit of that now, but it's so early right now because we're just trying to teach them the basics of just lining up properly, learning the formations, learning the signals, learning all the things, and then go out and perform in the spring. But yeah, hopefully we'll have a great idea as we get in the middle of the spring to figure out where these guys will best help us.
We're not having the traditional spring game. Will it change how you guys evaluate the guys during practice, or more premium on those practices since you don't have that spring game to kind of show out?
Yeah, I think back. I don't even know if we've only, in my time coaching, we've only had a few traditional spring games. I know it's a big talk about it, but usually, and I think from a coach's perspective, I want to get a practice. We only get 15 opportunities. Let's get a good practice. So now, a lot of it's devoted to scrimmage time. And in the past, we've run 80 snaps in a scrimmage. So we are evaluating that. But yes, to your point, we are evaluating every single day. How they perform. Can they line up correctly? How many mental mistakes are they making? Because those are the things, and how disciplined are they? Because those are the things that ultimately cost us in games. And I think, you guys know, if you think back last year and the year before, when we come back in here on press conferences after the games, we weren't disciplined enough. We had too many mental mistakes. Those are the things that cost us games. I feel like you lose more than you win in that regard so don't beat ourselves, in other words. And so those are the things we're going to be evaluating every single practice, and not just a spring game or a spring scrimmage. It is every single day who's giving us the best opportunity and chance to win games, and that's what we'll be evaluating.
Back to the NFL draft, if you were to send a letter of recommendation, Coach, to an NFL team about Corey Kiner, what might you say about him?
Yeah, man, consistent. He's going to be extremely consistent. I think as a coach, that's what you want. You want consistency from your players. You don't want a player that's going to be low one day, high one day, and all. He is consistently good every single day. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to be a guy who's going to break a lot of tackles. He's going to always strain for the extra yards. He's going to be great on third down in your protections. He's going to fit a linebacker up, put his nose right in the middle of his chest, and block him. And you just know you can count him to get those first downs. And he's also a smart player, so you don't have to sit in there and have to meet with him over and over and over. He's going to pick it up in the first 1 or 2 times you tell him what's going to happen there. So, and he's an outstanding character player. And so if there's a couple of running backs that are similar on the field as far as skill set, then he's going to set himself apart because he's going to give you all the other stuff that you're looking for as a football coach.
Coach, can you take us through sort of the level of expectations in regards to the 27 new players that are coming in versus, the transfers that are coming in versus the high school kids that you're signing?
Yeah, there is a difference in the transfers and the high school players. These high school players come from all different parts of the country, different kind of high school, different kind of program. For them to come in here, just to figure out what time they have to go to breakfast and what time do I have to lift weights and then what time's my meeting. Like that may be big for some of those guys. I think the transfer guys, they've already been in a program. They've already gone through all that. So for the transfer guys, we have, I guess, higher expectations initially when they get here to really pick it up quickly, to understand exactly what's happening right now. And they have done that. They've come right in. They know what the rigors are like in college. They know about the lifting and the running and nutrition, all those type things. It's just about them picking up on the terminology and then how we want them to play. And I think, that how quickly can they do that, we determine whether or not how much they play. I think for the high school guys, man, again, we're just taking it slow with those guys. The way I see it, if these high school guys came in early, this is just gravy for us, for them. Because a lot of the guys normally come in the summer. This is an extra opportunity to come in and to get work, change their bodies. I think we've already had several freshmen that have put on 10 pounds, 15, we've even 20 pounds since they gotten here, which is incredible to me. And so I think it's different to look at the transfer compared to the high school guy. We're looking at these transfer guys to come in and play. I mean, right now, obviously the high school guys, we're a little bit more patient, and if they can help us this fall, certainly we'll play them. If they need a little bit more time to develop, then that's what we'll do as well with those guys.
Who have you seen kind of emerge as possible leaders in the weight room or with the on-field drills so far in terms of transfers?
In terms of transfers, Ty Wee's one that's really kind of stood out. We just talked about Corey. There's a lot of similarities, with Ty Wee and Corey. Obviously they're both built similar. They have great size, great strength. Ty Wee's just as strong, if not stronger, than him. We've had some competitions in the weight room and on the field, and just in the last week, and he's really stepped up and won those competitions. And that's what you want to see. Now, it's not 3rd and 2. We're not handing the ball to him to see if he can break a tackle. But, this is just a little glimpse into what he's built like, and to see, you think that's going to translate onto the football field. We've seen it on the field, the film. He's had some really good film out there, but he's kind of been one that's kind of stood out in that regard. I think, a guy like McDoom has really done some good things at corner out there, but also just competing and running and lifting and all those type things. We got our first look at Rusnick, the kicker, the other day, kind of in front of everybody, and he looked really good, knocking some field goals down. So, I mean, I think each and every day, because we're just still learning about those guys, and that's what I'm looking forward to when you put the ball down. I was telling Coach Nico this the other day. A lot of these guys have done a great job in the weight room and the winter program stuff, but they still got to play football, right? So when we put the ball down, I want to be able to see what they can do. Can they make the plays? Can they do it? The wide receivers, Caldwell's looked great in some of the drills. Cyrus has looked really, really good. So yeah, I mean, I think Xavier at safeties looked really good. So I mean, there's several of them, but I'm anxious to see them when we put the ball down.
How does the conditioning in the spring ball next year look like when you have the building open? Do you still sneak the guys out in the snow to toughen them up, or you've got a nice facility?
Good question there. That'll be something we'll have to debate. But I don't necessarily worry about weather in the winter and spring as so much as in the summer and the fall, because we don't ever play games when it's wind chill's -5 degrees. We really haven't. And like it was 2 weeks ago, it was brutal out there, and the guys were out there doing it. So, no, I know it. I like it when it was like the other day it was 60 when we were out there. That's phenomenal. So, but I do think in the wintertime, the new facility is going to be incredible for us to be able to use next winter, because I think you really just want time with the guys to be able to get their workouts in. Now, I'm sure we're going to continue to play with them mentally, because that's what winters are all about. So there'll be days probably next winter when it's very cold and they're anticipating we're going into the indoor and we're going outside. So we're going to have to mess with their minds a little bit. So we'll continue to do that for sure.
You were asked about high school players earlier. Yeah. Zion Johnson had some really, really impressive tape coming out of high school. Does he kind of have that skill set to just be a get the ball in his hands kind of guy as a true freshman, you think? It's
going to be interesting. It's hard to evaluate running backs in the winter without putting the ball down, because he looks good. I mean, he's running around. He can catch the ball. He's got good wiggle. He's decent size for a high school player just getting here. But until you put the ball down, hand him the ball, and all right, these guys are trying to tackle you. Let's see what you really can do. We don't really know that, but I like what we've seen from him so far. I think Gio's another guy at wide receiver. He's really kind of turned some heads a little bit in this winter program. Like, he's come in and he runs good routes. He catches the ball well. He's looked really good, and I think those Zion, I'm glad you mentioned those two, because they really have looked good and kind of turned some heads of the coaches in the first month and a half.
Looking at spring,
yes, sir.
How much more comfortable is this than it had to be fly by the seat of your pants last year, trying to catch up and learn everything? Much better is your grasp on what you have and what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure, absolutely. I think the number one thing would be simply the routine that you develop over time when you're in one spot. So that's certainly been a positive. The number of guys we have returning from a year ago that would have the ability to speak the same defensive language is a positive as well. So I think both of those things are at least make heading into spring, you feel a little bit more comfortable. I don't think you ever feel like this is going to be easy, right? So, but I think you feel a little bit more comfortable. Yep, for sure.
The number of freshmen that you threw out there that played and contributed, it might not have felt good at the time. Is that something that you expect to benefit from this coming season?
For sure. I think in those first-year guys for us that were coming right out of high school that played for us gave us valuable reps, whether it's a defensive rep or a special teams rep. We had both of those going on. So, and the same, those guys are a year older, a year stronger, and a year seasoned. So I think that's a huge thing for them. And obviously, all of those guys are competing to be starters at their position as well. So, that they are in that competition for sure.
Which one's going to blow up?
Yeah, I don't know. We've got, our competition would be, a step above of where we were a year ago for sure. So simply because you've got a lot of guys coming back that gave you valuable reps. So, time will tell on all that for sure.
You added safety Xavier Williams. Interesting background being a quarterback up until last season or during last season. Do you kind of see that intelligence that he has at that safety position to be able to kind of identify offenses and that kind of thing?
You can. First, Xavier's a wonderful human. He's a sharp guy. He has obviously spent more time on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side, though he was, Middle Tennessee's leading tackler a year ago. So he's got the ability to be a volume tackler by showing that, and he does have that, that offensive vision, you would say, to be able to understand what offenses are trying to do, understand formations and those things, and through those things that we're doing with some of our prelim stuff heading into the spring, you can see that for sure. Yep, that's a great point.
Having a guy like Dante Corleone, also Jake Golday, other guys as well that already been through the system, how does it help with the transfers that are coming in, kind of get them acclimated? Yeah,
so collectively, you would say in our front six group, our three down guys and our three linebackers, we've got a lot of plays coming back in that entire group, and really, based on that and those guys that are in that mix, and you mentioned Dante and Jake, they are great leaders for us collectively as a team and as a defense. So those guys are a key component of all that, and we're fortunate that we've got a lot of guys coming back in that core. Absolutely, yep.
You can talk about the new assistants we're going to meet here in a little bit, and how you got to choose them. I know you at least had ties with one of them. Yep.
So Adam and I had worked together years ago. We were GAs together back in. I have trouble sometimes recalling years, but 05 it would have been. Then
Bio said West Virginia.
What's that?
Bio said West Virginia.
That was, yep. We were in Morgantown then. Yep, absolutely. Yep. And then Eddie and Adam had worked together at UNC Charlotte. So those, and I had known Eddie clearly prior to him coming here as well. Just had not worked with him. Yep.
With the restructuring of the staff, are you kind of in a different position now, more of a true defensive coordinator position where maybe you're not focusing on one specific thing, but you can kind of move around and be a little bit more versatile?
Yeah, that does, based on our current experience and structure, that has helped me a little bit, even as we're trying to plan out how we're utilizing everybody in the springtime. I think also things changed probably with all of that when the rule changed with your quality control coaches and those things as well. So another new hire for us was Josh Runda, who has experience in what we're doing with this structure too. So I think collectively with all that, and I think prior to with our graduate assistants, we had used those guys a lot in a lot of the things we were doing too. But it does allow you to do that. And naturally, I would hang with Walt Stewart a lot anyway. I love defensive linemen naturally. So When we were doing some special team stuff, I would work my way down to be with the D-line and try to help in those times with when I could. But I feel like collectively as a defensive staff, that one, we've got returners there, that weren't necessarily in, the position coach spots that are going to even be more productive for us probably than a year ago too.
Excited to get in that new building, so maybe you can get a bigger meeting room. Sounds like you need more space.
Absolutely excited to get into the new building. I think everybody is. Yep, for sure.
You had some D linemen, several that were injured last year. How are those guys progressing? And
we did.
Some of those were guys that you were really counting on.
Absolutely. No, they're all progressing. They're all doing things right now, and are either on track or ahead of schedule on where the medical staff thinks they should be. So we're counting on having those guys, when we get started here in a few days. So it'll be great to have those guys back. There's a degree of it too where, simply based on when they were injured and the reps that they have, some of the, guys don't have a ton of experience in what we're doing either. So with that being said, you can't just throw them in there for 1,000 reps either. You're going to have to ease them in because they're coming off injury and all those things too. So we got to do a great job with that.
Should fans expect any position changes maybe when they come out for the April 12th spring game? Any guys moving around?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have any complete wholesale deals. We're going to, and I said this to Chad the other night, part of what I think we're able to do right now is do that as we're simply practicing and installing and working different things a year into it. So we're going to shift and slide some guys into some different spots along the way, maybe within their position group and maybe without of it as well. So that's really what we're trying to get done now to sort those things out on. Simply, one, we want to be able to put guys maybe in a better position than they were at their position, knowing a little bit more about them. Two, I think we're also trying to continue to build depth and competition at all those positions. So through that mindset is how we will get to that, but we will definitely do that.
Eddie, was it like riding a bike, getting back on campus here, or how much has it changed since you were here to kind of relearn everything?
Right. I mean, it's always been a place, you know what I mean? Because my son was born here and I was an early coach, in the process of, getting, but the process of getting back has been awesome. It's a lot of familiar faces. So, just looking forward to, we got this new building that's going up and everything. So, we're just looking forward to all of that.
There's a picture of you at one of your stops with a wrestling belt. Is that something that's going to be reintroduced here?
We'll see. That wrestling belt, for the most part, we just motivated our guys, and it was whoever was having the best day. They just ended up with the belt, and it was something to motivate them guys to see who was going to have the best day, whether it was in one-on-ones or anything like that. So whoever graded out the best and whoever had the best day from a work hard standpoint, we just gave it out to them.
Coach Braithwaite, you kind of left the defensive coordinator role to come here and be the safeties coach. What made you take that leap of faith and kind of going down a step but kind of being at a bigger program?
Yeah, I think a combination of things. Relationships, number one. I've had a strong relationship with Coach Veit for a long time now. We GA'd together back in 2005 over at West Virginia. Have stayed friends through the profession for 20 years now without really having worked together. So the opportunity to come work with him. I also had some familiarity with some of the guys. Coach Hicks and I have worked together, Coach Dawkins. And a lot of guys that I've known are tied to coaches on this staff. So from a relationship standpoint and a staff standpoint, that was very appealing to me. And then, obviously I've been a coordinator mostly at the FCS level. So the opportunity to take a jump and get back into the Power 4 level was something that, I've hoped that opportunity would present itself again. And it just so happened to be with someone that I've known. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about, seeing a new way of doing things. This will be my first go-round in this defensive scheme. I've been fortunate through my career to have been around a lot of schemes and pick up a lot of ball and pick and choose. And but as a coordinator, you're largely doing what you do and what you know the most. And so whenever you get an opportunity to do something different and get outside of your comfort zone, I think has always been attractive for me.
What was it about Coach Veit and the time you spent with him that kind of left an impression on you that said this might be someone that I want to work for?
Yeah, I mean, we were GAs together, and so we, kind of went through the fire together a little bit. And he had been a GA before. That was kind of my first go-round as I was just getting into the profession. So I have a lot of respect for the way that he handles himself, and his work ethic was something that jumped out to me right off the bat, and that I kind of tried to mold myself after from a work ethic standpoint. And then, you seem to hit it off with certain people. Just from a personality standpoint, we saw eye to eye on a lot of things and were able to have real discussions on things. And so it just kind of grew from there. We worked together for 1 year and then have been good friends for 20 years. And that doesn't always happen, as you just work with somebody for a brief season or something like that. So
you're pretty confident you have his ear then, having worked with him all that, because, you were a defensive coordinator, and I don't know how you were receptive to hearing.
I hope that I can bring value, from that standpoint. Obviously, right now I'm a sponge, so I'm learning the way that things are done, and specifically with the scheme that we run and things like that. So I'll try to provide my perspective when given the opportunity, and I hope that over time, that trust level continues to grow, and I'll be able to, add some value that way as well.
All right. For both of you, you guys have a previous relationship with the new system. Like, how important is you guys' relationship? Both corners coach and the safeties coach, to be able to communicate and input what you want to tell to those young men.
Right. No, very important. You know what I mean? So I think the biggest thing is, especially as a secondary, but as a staff, being on the same page is very important. And not just being on the same page. I always say being on the same page in the same book. So just making sure we're all on the same page. We're trusting each other. Everybody's opinion is good because, at the end of the day, we all want to win. And that's the good thing about, working with Coach before and, the previous spot is, everybody have good value, that we believe and that we bring to the table that we feel like can help us, continue to get better.
I almost don't remember what the NIP looked like in 2013, but how different does it look to you from when you were here last?
What was that? What?
Nippert.
The who?
The stadium.
Oh, the stadium. Oh, Nippert. Oh, man. Yeah. No, Nippert, I mean, the press box side is obviously bigger. I think that part, they built that part up a little bit. But I just remember Nippert being, packed, the fans being excited, being loud. I'm looking forward to seeing that again, right? Obviously, we got, some time before we do that. But, right now I've had a chance to go out there in Nippert with the guys. The guys are working out in Nippert, working hard. So, so just looking forward from that standpoint. But, it's pretty much the same, obviously, other than, that side going up.
I know you guys have just been working out, not much, no pass or anything like that, of course. But has any of the guys stood out to you, especially in you guys' positions?
Well, I mean, one thing I'll say that's really just impressed me about the whole group, not just our position, but I feel like our guys have a high capacity for work, and I feel like they love ball. And I think anytime you have those two things, I think you got a chance to really improve and be good. And so that's just a general overall statement that I've noticed there. I'm excited to get to spring ball, and actually play some football. And I know we've evaluated them to a certain level in workouts and things like that. But and we evaluate everything they do, but we're ready to kind of strap it up and play some ball and see where we are, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think our strength staff do an unbelievable job, of holding all the guys to the standard. Coach Satterfield, Coach Veit, but the guys are working really hard. So that's something that I've been impressed with since I've gotten back.
Sanford has decent football, obviously. Do you see a difference in just the physicality of the guys at this level?
Yeah, definitely do. I mean, obviously at the FCS level, you have some really good football players and guys that can play at this level. As you notice in the transfer portal, there's a lot of FCS guys moving up and having some success. But just as a general whole, the depth, particularly in the trenches, I think is the biggest difference, and from a physicality standpoint to me from that. So there is a difference from that standpoint.
It's a lot of bodies in the secondary. Have you guys started bickering over who gets who's got dibs, and that first spring practice, he's going to be in my group, he's going to be in your group? Have you got there yet?
There's been a little bit of that between myself and Coach Veit, in terms of safeties. Not as much with Coach Hicks and I, but that'll probably change as we play football. We may start, battling a little more over that.
Any questions?
Hicks, Zaravion Johnson, pretty highly touted freshman coming in. Didn't get to see the field much last year. What's been your impression of him so far through the first couple weeks?
I think the first thing, I think Zay is a unbelievable person, right? Which is awesome. I think he works hard. He's worked really hard over the past month or so that I've been here, and he shows like he has all the talent in the world, right? And right now he's working to put it all together, right? He's working on, all the small things that he needs to work on to continue to get better. But I think the biggest thing with him is like he shows up every single day, ready to work, with the mindset. And, as a redshirt freshman, I think that he can potentially, be a leader for the entire football team because of how he goes about his day every single day. So he's on an unbelievable job, and he's obviously going to have to grow up quick, but we'll see, and we're excited about Zay and see what he does, going into the spring.
Any good B. Kelly stories we could use?
No, I don't think I have any of those right now.